All right, we are back. Chris Mannix, Sergio Mora, he's the fighter, I'm the writer. And Sergio, a lot going on today's show. We have a guest, Richardson Hitchins, 140-pound title holder. Richardson is at the intersection of a lot of potentially interesting fights in the junior welterweight division. He's been pushing for a fight against Teofimo Lopez. He had a confrontation of sorts with Subriel Matias recently. He's been calling out Devin Haney. Richardson is going to get into everything that has been going on the last few weeks here on the show. We also have a new segment, which I am calling the Notebook Dump. So as you know, Sergio, I talk to a lot of people in the world of boxing, pick up a few things here and there. I'm going to open up the notebook each week on the show and discuss some of the things that I've been hearing over the previous couple of days. But as we always do, Sergio, we have to start with our winners and losers of the week. So the floor is yours with the first winner of the week.
I wish you would consult me when it comes to these winners and losers of the week and these new segments that you're bringing on our show, because I would love to bring up one of these new segments of like the most punchable face, or who do you want to punch out, or whatever. Anyway, consult me in this, Chris Mannix. I am the fighter in this show. Okay. Your question again?
Winner of the week.
Punching as the right side of my brain has taken my short-term memory. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what'd you ask me? Winner of
the week, for the love of God. Winner of the week.
Jojo Diaz, man. I think what he did was incredible in Chicago, and I felt that he should have deserved the decision. I'll be honest with you. But all in all, I mean, it was a fight of the year between two former champions. Let's throw that in there. It was a crossroads fight between two former champions that we didn't expect much from. We haven't expected much from Jojo Diaz in years. And he provided excitement. He provided a new chapter in his career, because he's not done. He's not done. And Regis Prograis, we thought he was done. We thought he was finished. He didn't look good. He was chinny, but he still provided a fight, and he still won, which makes him, keep going and get another big fight. That's my winner of the week.
Yeah, Regis won the fight, kept his career going, but no doubt Jojo won in many respects as well. He had lost 6 of 8 entering that fight. People thought it was going to be a layup for Regis Prograis to outbox him, win 9 rounds to 1, maybe even stop him. But Jojo, he showed new fight. What's disappointing to me, though, Sergio, is that I'm not getting the sense that a rematch is coming. I've been talking to a few people on both sides that are involved, and it sounds like Regis wants to go in a different direction. Jojo might go back down to 135. I just hope at some point we get these two back together in a fight, because that was phenomenal to watch. My winner of the week, and I'm fudging the week a little bit because I think this happened late last week. My winner is Rolly Romero, who is now officially the full WBA 147-pound champion, which means that Rolly Romero is a 2-division world champion. Rolly Romero has had one of the more bizarre careers in recent memory, where he won his belt at 140 under controversial circumstances, which happened against Ismael Barroso. You remember the stoppage was questionable. Tony Weeks took a lot of criticism for that. A lot of people thought that fight should have continued, and if it did, Barroso, who was like 57 at that time, that he would have won. Rolly winds up getting knocked out by Isaac Cruz the very next time he fights. Then he goes up to 147. Takes on Ryan Garcia. For some reason, the WBA decided to sanction this for its secondary 147-pound title, despite the fact that neither one of these guys had ever fought as a full-fledged 147. Rolly winds up upsetting Ryan, wins the secondary version. Boots Ennis decides to move up to 154. All of a sudden, Rolly's looking around going, I am the world champ at 147. And now he has a bunch of lucrative options that are out there. At the top of the list is a rematch with Ryan Garcia, which we're going to get into a little later in the show. Or Manny Pacquiao is said to be interested in challenging Rolly for that welterweight title. So Rolly has one of the weakest title-winning resumes of anyone. Yet here he is, sitting pretty, 2-division champion with an opportunity to make a pile of money in his next fight.
The luxury of having a big mouth and a big punch. I mean, I say it all the time. He's like Ricardo Mayorga. He always gets the big opportunities, the big names. Every big name that you could think of in the last 25 years, Ricardo Mayorga faced. He lost. He got knocked out. but he got that big payday with it. And I think Rolly Romero is cut from that cloth. So credit to him. But people love power. And whether you're at the giving end of it or the receiving end, fans don't care. You're either going to get knocked out or knock the other guy out in a big upset. Rolly won a decision against Ryan Garcia in an unexpected fight that no one thought that could happen. And here he is. We're talking about him. And if he gets Manny Pacquiao, I'm telling you right now, man, Rolly Romero probably is going to go down as one of these fighters that you need to study to know how to market yourselves, because that is incredible, the run of names that he's fighting at this period of his career.
Great marketer, but I'm more focused on the title-winning performances, right? Like the first one against Barroso was not a good performance. And the one against Ryan, it was a good performance, but that had no business being for any kind of welterweight title. You have the WBA, which continues to operate in dysfunctional ways. They decide to make it for the secondary belt. Boots Ennis goes up, and now Rolly is sitting pretty at 147. All right, losers of the week. Give me your loser of this week, Sergio.
Adrian Broner, who made a statement saying that he wants to come back and dedicate the next 4 or 5 years of his life to boxing when he's 36. What he wants to be a 40-year-old champion, 41-year-old champion if it's the 5th year. Incredible that he has the audacity to say that when people gave up on him 10 years ago. You know, Adrian Broner was a special talent in his 20s. You know, he's a perfect example, the poster child of wasted talent, of wasted opportunity, because he could have been the next coming of Floyd Mayweather Jr. He had the flash, the pizzazz, the power, the speed. He knew how to market himself. He had everything, but he didn't have the discipline, and he didn't have he didn't have a lot of things, but it had nothing to do with boxing. So Adrian Broner, at this point of his career, who probably needs the money, owes money, or whatever the case is, at 36, wanting to make a comeback, sad, man. That's my loser of the week.
Yeah, I don't know how many 4-division world champions are not in the Boxing Hall of Fame, but Adrian Broner is going to be one of them. I mean, Adrian Broner had one of the most carefully curated careers early in it, when he was coming up, fighting on HBO, winning world titles at 130, 135, 140, 147. I thought Adrian was pretty good at 130 and 135. That win he had over Tony DeMarco years ago was a good win. That made me believe that there was something special in Adrian Broner. But, you know, the outside the ring lifestyle, the lack of, you know, taking your training habits as seriously as you should have, and frankly, maybe not being as good as you looked early in your career, that cost him something. And look, the inactivity, when he lost to Pacquiao, he's only fought, 3 or 4 times since then, lost his most recent fight to Blair Cobbs. I think if Adrian wants to come back, there's probably going to be an opportunity for him to do that somewhere. He's still a reasonable name with a reasonable resume, but I don't see how he ever gets back to any kind of top level, any kind of level he was, you know, in those best years for him. My loser of the week is Boxer. I'm talking about the promotional outfit over in the UK that is run by Ben Shalom. I'm not sure how closely you've been following this situation in the UK, but a couple of months ago, Boxer, which is this nascent promotional outfit led by Ben Shalom, which emerged in the aftermath of Eddie Hearn's decision to move all of Matchroom's fights and fighters over to DAZN, which allowed Boxer to occupy Hearn's slots on Sky Sports. Well, Boxer, they lost that contract recently, and that has left the company's fighters scrambling to figure out what is next. Joshua Buatsi, who was a Boxer fighter, he recently signed with Queensberry. We've heard Martin Bacoli wonder what's happening next for him. You have other fighters over there, Ben Whitaker, Fraser Clark, Caroline Dubois, all anxious to know exactly what is going on with Boxer and if it's going to get another broadcast deal that will allow them to return to fight. Meanwhile, Ben Shalom, he's gone radio silent. There's been some reporting that he's working on a new deal elsewhere, but for right now, his fighters are twisting in the wind, and that is not a good thing. So my loser of the week, Sergio, is Boxer and Ben Shalom. And I think you can probably relate as a fighter. You know, it's not a great situation to be in, to kind of be looking around and wondering if your promoter is still going to be in business next month.
Yeah, but if he comes back with a major deal on a network, then egg in the face of everyone that criticized him. Because I've seen this before. Promoters go silent sometimes. Smaller promoters, not the big promoters, but smaller promoters go silence at times, and then they come back with a big fight or a big signing, or they have a fighter that upset a big name, and they're back. That's the thing when you're a smaller promoter. You rely on a little bit of, well, a lot of hard work, but you need luck. So right now, Ben Shalom, I think he has a future in promoting. He's one of these guys that can play both sides. He's smart. If he has the backing and he has the money to do it, he's gonna be back, man. But right now, it's his time to take a standing A count and really gather some resources and realize who's with him and who wants to watch him fail. And right now, a lot of people want to watch him fail.
No question. While Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn have become compadres over the last few years, thanks to Turki Al-Sheikh, Ben Shalom has still kind of been on the outside looking in, feuding with Frank, feuding with Eddie. And there's no doubt there are some gleeful people in the Queensberry and Matchroom offices watching what's happening. I think the question with Ben is, where's the deal? Like, Sky was a big deal for him because Sky over in the UK is lineal TV. He was able to offer fighters something that they couldn't get anywhere else. Now, what can he offer these fighters unless there's another lineal TV network over in the UK looking to do some kind of exclusive deal with Boxer? I don't know. I mean, I've seen stranger things happen, I guess, but I think this is going to be an interesting few months for Ben Shalom. All right, let's jump into the topics, and let's start with the recent announcement this week by Turki Al-Sheikh that the Conor Benn Chris Eubank Jr. rematch is back on, now scheduled for November 15th. Of course, we all followed this over the last few weeks, where it seemed like the rematch was dead and buried after Eubank Jr. showed no interest in fighting Conor in September. Well, they have revived the deal. They have revived the fight. It's going to take place in the UK. It's going to take place in mid-November. What do you make of this fight being put back together, and who do you think it favors, getting a couple extra months to get ready for it?
This fight is going to be fight of the year, in my opinion, and they have to do it again. So I'm glad they put it back together and got rejuvenated, because not only was it profitable, it was very popular around the world, not just in the UK, around the world. And if it gets fight of the year, it's a must. But Chris Eubank Jr. is making the right decision again. I mean, this guy's career has been so perfect because he hasn't really fought the biggest names of the biggest champions, but we're still talking about him at 37 years old, and he's still going to be the A side of that fight, and he's still going to have the reins on what he wants. He's the A side. So Chris Eubank Jr., I applaud him. Plus, both these guys come from legacy, come from name, and everyone wants to watch this fight happen. So where else is Chris Eubank Jr. going to go? David Benavidez? Keep waiting for Canelo? No way, man. He's making a killing fighting these B-side fighters. He's going to be the bigger fighter against Conor Benn. He won that first fight handedly. Yes, it was exciting. Ben had his moments of youth and vigor and strength towards the end, where the older fighter is always going to, slip up a little bit. But still, intelligence, experience, and that championship pedigree got Eubank Jr. through the finish line, and that long jab. So it's going to be even easier for him the second time around, and he's going to collect another check in an incredible, marketed fight. Because that first fight, the marketing sold it. The marketing, the promotion, how these guys handle themselves, they're the complete polar opposites in personality and style of each other. Man, that's a promoter's dream. Fans eat that up. So the second time around is going to be even easier. Bring it on.
So you think it's going to be even easier? I want to come back to that. I want to first say, I think that I agree with you. It's the right thing that this fight was reconstituted and we're getting them again. The first fight was fantastic. There's no reason why these two shouldn't run it back. Sold out stadium, a lot of pay-per-views. It'll be even bigger the second time around because the fight was so good the first time around. I do disagree that Eubank didn't have any other options. I think he could have tried to pick a fight with Hamza Shiraz at 168. Hamza coming off that win over Edgar Berlanga. Remember, Chris Eubank for several years was a 168 pounder. He's obviously much more comfortable making 168 than he is making 160. So he could have tried to force a fight with Shiraz. And if he beats Shiraz, all of a sudden he's the guy for Canelo, which is an even bigger payday, over in the UK than a Conor Benn fight is. But there was no guarantees that Chiral was going to fight him, and no guarantees he would win that fight either. I think this is the right fight for Chris because, look, he's just turned 35 years old. If anybody needed more time,
no, he's older than that, Mannix.
No, he's not. I'm checking it. I did check it. I do my research. He's 35.
Okay, well then he's
in
about
September.
to be 36, like next month.
No, in September. In September he turns 36. Yes, in September he turns
36. Get it right.
Okay, I did get it right. He's 35 years old. 35 years old, turns 36 in September. He definitely needs more recovery time than Conor Benn does. Conor Benn is 28, fresher, not as shop worn, needs a little bit more recovery time. I think getting those extra 2 months are going to benefit Chris Eubank Jr. greatly. Now, the rules are still the same. He still has to make 160. There is still going to be a 10-pound rehydration clause the next day, so he's not going to get out of any of that. But having the extra couple of months to rest his body first and foremost, and then presumably September, go into a full training camp, get 10 weeks in, and get ready for that fight. I am interested to hear you say that you think it's going to be easier the second time around, because I think you're underestimating or discrediting the, quote, moments that Conor Benn had. Conor Benn had some great moments in that fight. Yes, he wound up losing a clean decision, but only one of those guys was hurt in this fight, Sergio, and it wasn't Conor Benn. So I think it's maybe closer to a 50-50 type of fight than you think.
Oh, no way. Hell no. First of all, the first fight wasn't even split decision unanimous. I mean, it was unanimous. It wasn't close. I think it was 116, 112, 3 times. Anyway, that's convincing. It wasn't easy, but it's convincing. Yes, he had his moments, but this is what you expect between a young bull and an old bull. The old bull brings the experience. He knows how to use his jab, use the clock, waste some time, know how to harness all that energy to the end. And the youthful guy is going to have his moments in the later part of that fight. If this happens again, I think Ben is going to start a little bit more aggressive, even more than the first time.
He was aggressive the first time. Yeah, he was really aggressive.
More this time around, and he's going to fall into the hands of Eubank Jr., who was picking him apart, man. That's my opinion. I think Eubank Jr. brings a lot of savviness, a lot of smarts, and of course, that championship experience that Ben lacks. Mind you, Ben is coming up from low 140s. This is a guy that's fought all the way to super middleweight. Just size matters here, man. Size matters. But even though it's still gonna market itself, it's still gonna be a great fight. But stylistically, I just think Eubank Jr. has his number.
I'm just saying, man. Liam Smith knocked Chris Eubank Jr. out. Conor Benn had some moments where he had Chris Eubank Jr.
Jr. wasn't a blown up 140 pounder. He was a
junior middleweight. He was a junior middleweight. He's not a big guy. Yeah, but he's not a big guy, I'm saying. And he knocked out Eubank Jr. And Conor Benn, if you go back and watch the fight, there were a couple of moments where it looked like he might have Chris Eubank Jr. in trouble. Chris Eubank, to his credit, smart fighter. He had some veteran moves there in that fight where he held on and was able to survive some of that storm, used his boxing skills to his advantage. But I think Conor is also going to benefit from 12 rounds in that fight. He's going to benefit from that experience. I think it's going to be closer than you do. I think it's a split decision if it goes to decision. I think Conor's got a decent chance of getting a stoppage. You are looking.
Look, man, a couple of moments may get you a rematch, but it's going to be the same or easier night for Eubank Jr. I mean, look at my moments against Daniel Jacobs. Yeah, my moments. I dropped them. You voted it round of the year. Thank you very much. But in the second time around, his size just ran me over. I got dropped who knows how many times. I stopped counting. Size matters, man. And the more they rehydrate, the more confidence they had. They already felt your speed and power and timing. They're not going to respect it the second time around because that's just the way it is when you're a naturally bigger fighter. Not more talented, just stronger, bigger, and you've already been through that.
I feel like the comparison, though, of you and Jacobs is not apt because Jacobs at that point was in his prime. Like, that was some of the best of
All right, I'll give you
Daniel
another
Jacobs.
example. I mean, it happens all the time. Look at Kambosos and Haney. Second time around was even easier for Haney because the familiarity is there. And it's like that with
but again, I think there was a talent gap between those two guys. I don't think there's really a talent gap between Eubank and Conor Benn. I think there's a size gap between them. And if there's a talent gap, it's nowhere near as big as the talent gap as Devin Haney and George Kambosos. Like, that's more important. Anyway, I'm excited it's happening. I'm glad it's happening. I think happening in November means you're probably going to get the best version of both these guys, and it's going to be such a huge event over in the UK. Another event, Sergio, that seems to be inching closer over in the UK is a heavyweight showdown between Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul. That's right. Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua are having what's being termed substantive conversations about matching the former two-time heavyweight champion of the world and Anthony Joshua against Jake Paul, whose most significant win came in his last fight against the blown-up 160-pounder in Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Eddie Hearn, though, he came out this week and said he called it 50-50 that an AJ against Jake Paul fight happens. You have been a Jake Paul critic over the years, Sergio. Will you give him props if he winds up stepping into the ring with Anthony Joshua?
If he puts up a decent fight and gets knocked out, 100% I'll give him props, because he's still, a guy learning, and he's fighting a two-time heavyweight champion of the world and a gold medalist, and a guy that's 6'6", and a guy that looks like Adonis, sculpted out of granite, muscular, big. How is he going to reach that big? I mean, Jake Paul's a big guy for a cruiserweight.
He's about 6'3", though. The height is not going to be the issue in this fight.
Jake Paul is not 6'3", just like you're not 6'3".
All right, he's over 6 feet. He's not under 6 feet. So I don't think the height's going to be a major issue.
I didn't say under. He's about 6'1", Jake Paul. I sized him up already, but he's big. He has big.
Of course, you sized him up. Yes, of course.
He has a linebacker frame, but he's not a big guy. I've seen Jake Paul in person. His brother Logan's way bigger than him, Anthony Joshua. He towers over people. He has that statuesque look. He walks by, it's like, who the hell is that guy? You don't get that with Jake Paul. But if he steps up and even fights him, competes with him, I'm just talking about put up a good fight for 2-3 rounds. Absolutely, I'll respect this Disney fighter turned boxer and Jake Paul, because I seen the spectacle that happened in Anaheim against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. People loved it. You got real boxing fans, but then you had the Disney crowd. You had the young kids, and it was an excellent undercard. So it was a great event, and the undercard was pretty good too as well. So yeah, I'm gonna respect it. Yes, I'm gonna watch. And can you imagine Eddie Hearn promoting that fight around the world to a different demographic and a different set of eyeballs? We're accustomed to hearing and seeing Eddie Hearn sell a fight, but to people that aren't accustomed to seeing it, this is going to be like, a new circus, a new event where people want to come and gather around and watch this event. So yeah, I'm in it, especially at this stage of Anthony Joshua's career where he's already shook. He's already been cracked. He's not going to be the same. Every heavyweight is licking their chops to fight Anthony Joshua. And now you have Jake Paul winking and licking his chops, looking at him too, thinking he can do something, but I don't think he can.
If Jake Paul gets knocked out in the first round by Anthony Joshua, I would still have an enormous amount of respect for him for doing it, because we've seen in Jake Paul's recent fights that he can make 7 figures, sometimes big 7 figures, fighting guys that are overmatched. He can fight the Mike Tysons of the world, the Chavez Juniors of the world, and make a pile of money. There was a great crowd in Anaheim a couple of months ago for that fight against Chavez. The Mike Tyson fight was the most watched fight ever, just a massive number of people watching that event. Jake Paul can continue to do that. It might piss a few people off, but he can continue to do that and keep making a pile of money. He'd make a pile of money to fight Anthony Joshua, no doubt about that. That would be, I think, the biggest pay-per-view globally that we've ever seen. If it winds up on a streaming service like Netflix, it would do numbers that would probably rival those of Paul against Mike Tyson. But it puts him in serious harm's way. Just look, for example, at what happened between AJ and Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou, who is a combat sports veteran, who in the fight before went 10 rounds with Tyson Fury, knocked down Tyson Fury, the lineal heavyweight champion of the world. Francis Ngannou knocked him down. Francis Ngannou steps in with Anthony Joshua, and what was it, the second round, where he just got absolutely tattooed by a straight right hand. That was pure violence by Anthony Joshua. And I know he's had his troubles with the Usyks of the world, with the Dubois of the world, but you put a, quote, inferior opponent in front of Anthony Joshua, and that opponent is going to get hurt. The fact that Jake Paul might be willing to step into that kind of fire, to step into that kind of lion's den, just 11, 12 fights into his professional boxing career, I don't care what happens as a result of. If he doesn't get out of the
care
first
what
round,
happens.
if he doesn't get out of the first, I'm talking about respect. If he doesn't get out of the first
talking about
round,
respect, too.
I respect the hell out of him for that.
No, you can get any Joe Schmo off the street to fight for a 7-figure payday against any killer in the world. Can you remember back in the 80s when Mike Tyson was like the biggest star, knocking out everybody? And they would ask random people on the street, would you get in the ring with Mike Tyson for $1 million?
None of them did. None of them did.
Do it because they'll wake up a millionaire.
It's so easy though, Sergio. It's so easy. It's so easy to say that. It's so easy to just be like, of course I'd fight it for $1 million. I remember that old line from Entourage, one of the early episodes where Jerry Ferrara, my guy, says as Turtle says, I'd let Vladimir Klitschko blast away at me for 50 grand. Like, it's easy to say that until it actually comes time to do it. I don't put any stock on man on the street saying they'll fight Mike Tyson for $1 million. Show me that you're going to do it first.
You know why you can say that? Because you didn't grow up needing. You didn't grow up in poverty. You grew up with wealth and
didn't have wealth.
So of course you're not going to do it, Mr. Boston. But we and Turtle and Entourage and everyone else that grew up in barrios and hood, they'll do it because it's an ass whooping we've been taking for free every other weekend.
Not like that.
Growing up, it doesn't matter. An ass whooping is an ass whooping. You never taken one, so look. Yes, they will do it. So Jake Paul, if he steps up with the former heavyweight champion of the world, respect. If he competes with him or even goes down swinging, then I'll salute him. But if he goes in there just to dance around and parade around and act, he'll be like Peter McNeely when he fought Mike Tyson, doing everything to sell the fight. But once he gets in there, he wets the bed. So if Jake Paul goes in there and competes and goes down swinging, all my respect.
Look, Peter McNeely, by the way, Peter McNeely was a joke in that fight. That was one of the first boxing matches I ever watched. But hold on. But do you remember what happened in that McNeely-Tyson fight? McNeely at least went for it early on. Like, he went charging at Mike Tyson to try to knock him out. Couldn't do it, and then took one clean shot, went down, then his corner threw in the towel. But at least McNeely kind of went for it in the very beginning of that fight. If Jake Paul goes out there and tries to win like Peter McNeely, which I don't think he will, I kind of respect that too. If you're going to go for it, at least go for it.
Your bar of respect is very low. I'm very disappointed.
Oh, God. And you seem to think like these dopes that are doing man on the street interviews and say hypothetically, would you get in the ring with Mike Tyson for $1 million that they'd actually do it? I don't believe the vast majority of them, when the pen came time to paper, when you had to show up at the arena and actually do it. Putting aside all that, Jake can make money doing anything else. He can fight guys that are vastly inferior to him and still make a pile of money. He's willing to put his health on the line against a atomic puncher like Anthony Joshua. Again, don't care how far the fight goes. Jake gets my respect.
Average guy off the street. You know my cousin. You know my friend Julio, right?
Yes. A very average guy off the street. Yes.
He annoys you. Cancer survivor. This guy can.
He's a lot.
Yeah. You think he'll fight Anthony Joshua for $1 million?
Would Julio, who's bat bleep crazy...
Answer the question. Do you think he'll fight Anthony Joshua for $1 million?
Probably. Yeah, he probably would.
Yes, he would do it. He faced cancer straight in the face and beat it. He definitely think he can get in there with Anthony Joshua. He'll get flattened, but then he'll wake up with $1 million that I'll probably enjoy because he won't wake up. But still, that's the average Joe. That's the average Joe. That's how the average fan thinks. It's like...
But we're going around in circles a little bit here because I keep going back to the fact that Jake Paul doesn't need this and is willing to do it. Like, that's got to be taken into consideration here, that he doesn't need to fight Anthony Joshua for money. Your guy Julio, who we could tell a lot of stories about here on this podcast, he needs the money, all right? He needs the cash. See, Jake Paul does not need the cash.
Jake Paul is thinking ahead, man. This guy's a promoter now. So he's a promoter, he's a businessman, and he pretends to be a boxer, which he's fighting real fighters now. But he's thinking of longevity and he's thinking about his promotion, so he has his finger in so many pies that he's making so much money in different levels that this guy you can't tell him no. So he's going to succeed until he doesn't. And against Anthony Joshua, he doesn't succeed because that's just way too much, but he's still going to make all that money. So what does it matter?
Hey, we have seen fighters measure risk reward all the time. And even though there's a huge reward for Jake Paul with facing Anthony Joshua, there's still a lot of rewards he can make and a lot of money he can make fighting anybody else. So if he gets in the ring with them, he will forever have my respect as a boxer. Let's talk a little bit about what we've seen from Keyshawn Davis this week. Keyshawn Davis, of course, had a disastrous last scheduled fight where he missed weight against Edwin De Los Santos by right around 4 pounds, maybe a little bit more. After that, he had an incident, or a couple of incidents. One where he reportedly went into the locker room of the opponent of one of his brothers and started kind of a fracas there. And then there was another fracas in the hallway. This all happened in Keyshawn's hometown in Virginia. Well, Keyshawn has begun his apology tour. He did an Instagram Live, and he made an appearance with Ariel Helwani. Keyshawn says he is going to take a year off to get his life together. Here's a little bit of what he had to say.
I'm following God. Like, seriously following God. I'm not up here trying to win nobody over. I'm not up here down talking nobody. I'm up here saying that I'm wrong, and when I come at the boxing, I'm going to be a better person because of God, honestly.
So, Sergio, I believe a couple of months ago, you had said Keyshawn needs to do exactly this, go on kind of an apology tour. He's starting to do that. Do you think that Keyshawn can get back what he lost?
Yes, he's 23 years old and he still has all the ability to be a star. And luckily, this happened earlier than later. You know, by later, I mean more successful in his career. We had more to lose, more sponsors, more money, more of everything. So it's good that it happened now because people could still look at him and say, that's a kid. He's in his early 20s. So he got a good kick in the butt early. So good for him, man. And it wasn't just that. He failed the drug test too, right? Like marijuana or something like that.
Marijuana, I think it was 3 or 4 fights ago.
All right, so missed drug test and then, getting in altercations after a fight, missing weight. Yeah, it's hard to invest in that if you're a promoter or even a fan. It was a letdown. So the only thing you could do is put your head down, apologize, a sincere apology. Step away from the game, understand that you're going to be losing a lot, of your prime, of your popularity, but that's your punishment. That's your punishment. So if you can do that, you can come back easily, man. I mean, what athlete, forget boxer. I mean, fighters are always getting in trouble, but and the NBA players, I mean, you get all that money, all that popularity, everything's at your beck and call. You're bound to get in trouble. You're bound to hit something where you're going to be on the front page of news. So, like I said, luckily that it happened at 23 and not 33, because that's unforgivable. You can't forgive a 33-year-old man for doing, making stupid decisions. And I just think he's going to be all right.
Yeah, boxing is the home of second chances and third chances and fourth chances. Like, they give a lot of chances in this sport. And even though Keyshawn's got a couple of strikes against him, I agree with you. I think he is young enough to bounce back and get back everything that he lost. But it is going to take some humbling. And he's experiencing the first part of it now, where he's apologizing. He's taking full responsibility for everything that happened with the missed weight and the altercation afterwards. But the next humbling, Sergio, is going to come when he wants to come back. Because Keyshawn Davis, as a world champion at 135, was a 7-figure fighter. Like, he was scheduled to make that much money fighting in his hometown against Edwin De Los Santos. If he had won, he probably would have moved up and been a 7-figure fighter in his next time out. Now, whenever he comes back, presumably under the Top Rank banner, he's going to probably make half that, maybe even a little less or more than half that in his next time out. And he's got to be willing to kind of accept that. Now, there is obviously some pathways here, like go up to 140. Maybe you take on Nahir Albright. He beat Albright a few years ago, and that was a very competitive fight. Maybe you take him on after the altercation. He beat your brother, and you can have, kind of a little bit of a storyline going into that fight, and then rebuild for there to put yourself into the championship mix. But he's got to be ready for what's coming in terms of opponents and payday, because he's going to have to prove, I think, to the boxing world once again that he can make the weight in a timely manner, be professional during these fights before anybody really of consequence is going to give him an opportunity.
He's a fighter. He's been here. He knows how to, climb back from the mud. Like I said, man, whenever you've already been through this, it's, I mean, I'm sorry, when you haven't been through this, it's new to you. So at first he thought he was going to be like, okay, I failed a drug test. Okay. I missed weight. Okay. I got in a fight. All these things already happened to him, but the limelight wasn't on him. The spotlight wasn't on him. Now Everyone jumped on him. His promoter even jumped on him. Fans jumped on him. Social media jumped on him. That's when it actually hits you. It's like, whoa, I'm actually a champion. I represented this country as an Olympian. Kids are looking up to me. That's when you actually take a look in the mirror, and that's when the character gets revealed. I think this kid's gonna be just fine because I've seen him. I've seen him fight. I've told you I'm impressed with him, but I've seen him with a microphone under his mouth. I've seen him react, how he smiles, how he carries himself. He's the businessman. All he needs is just this little setback to set him in place, and he can evolve into not only a better fighter but a man.
Yeah, and he was starting to peak as a fighter before all this broke out. He had that win over Gustavo Lemos when Lemos blew weight by like 9 pounds or whatever it was. And he beats Lemos in his backyard. Then he fights Baranchik for the world title, beats Baranchik by convincing knockout. So there's obviously talent there. There's something special there. If he can just, if he understands the time it's going to take to fully rebuild, 2 fights, 3 fights. I mentioned the Albright fight. Like, that was actually the fight, Sergio, that turned into a no contest after Keyshawn tested positive for marijuana. And that was a close fight. When it happened, it was a majority decision. One judge had it a draw, another had 6-4 in favor of Keyshawn. So that to me is like the perfect fight to come back in, sometime maybe spring or fall or summer of 2026. All right, before we get to Richardson Hitchins, I want to get your take on Junto Nakatani, the unified 118-pound title holder, saying he's headed to 122. Nakatani says his next fight will be at super bantamweight, which sets the stage for what would be arguably, maybe inarguably, the biggest fight in Japanese boxing history, a showdown with the undisputed 122-pound champion, Naoya Inoue. Nakatani just won his unified championship just a week or a few days, I guess, or a week or so ago now. You agree with the decision by Nakatani to move up in weight?
I do. He already conquered not conquered, but he's a 3-division world champion. And now there's nothing else at 118, so he needs to move up against the monster. And yes, it will be the biggest fight in Japanese history because it won't just be a Japanese type fight with 2 Japanese champions. It'll be internationally popular. It'll be a fight where the whole world wants to watch because those are the 2 best fighters, not only in their division, but in multi-divisions. Yeah, I think that's the right decision. Even if he's going to be the smaller man as far as weight coming up. As far as size, as far as height,
not size, yeah.
That he's going to be much bigger. He's a very tall fighter for that. He's the same height as Brian Norman. Brian Norman is a 147-pound champion. This guy's 118. So 5'7" is huge for that weight division. When you're that tall, you can carry and distribute the weight evenly and still be strong. Inoue's 5'5". He's the typical small man, that is accustomed to that division. Yes, he brings the foot speed and power and legacy and all that, but he's still going to be the smaller man. So, yeah, it's the right decision for Nakatani, and it's a shame that he didn't fight Bam Rodriguez because Bam Rodriguez is the one moving up for him. But that's just the way it is when you're in different weight classes at different periods in time. You just got to wait your turn and keep winning. Nakatani has been doing that over 3 divisions over all this time, and he's pound for pound talent. Now it's time for him to go chase a monster in that monster payday.
Well, I reported this a couple of weeks ago that Turki Al-Sheikh wanted a Bam versus Nakatani fight on this Ring 4 card in Saudi in November. It was Nakatani's team that didn't want to take it, and this is obviously part of the reason why. He wanted to get that unified championship and then be done with 118 pounds. He's 5'8", to your point. Like, he's a big 118-pounder. And if you look at some of the pictures where he's been next to Naoya Inoue, he towers over Inoue. He's got 3 or 4 inches over Inoue. So he's not going to be at any kind of physical disadvantage at 122. And I think his power's probably going to carry up. You give him a little 4 extra pounds there, I think his power's probably going to go up. It's the right call because he can get one fight in before the end of the year, a non-title fight at 122 pounds to get his feet wet at that weight class. And then May, June, whatever, of 2026, we get the big one. Nakatani versus Inoue probably sells out the Tokyo Dome, 55, 60,000 fans in that building, a huge event over in Japan. I don't want to look past the guys Inoue's got to fight, especially MJ Akhmadaliev, who he's got in September, probably David Allen Picasso in December. But if Inoue can beat those 2 guys, all of a sudden we get a monster showdown. My other takeaway, Sergio, from this was this kind of sets the schedule for Bam Rodriguez too, in a way. Now that Bam knows that Nakatani is not in play, he's going to go into November against Puma Martinez. Good fight, tough fight. If he wins that, he'll get a title unification fight. All 4 belts. Go for undisputed, probably in San Antonio, first quarter of 2026. Then he can move up and perhaps fight for a vacant belt at 118. One of the titles that he owns. He can jump up, fight for a vacant title, or fight one of the title holders at 118. And then we're talking like probably early 2027 where Bam is going to face the winner of Nakatani versus Inoue. So for Bam Rodriguez, even though he probably wanted to fight Nakatani, big fight for him, this sets the table. This gives you the pathway for how to get to the big fights that you're ultimately looking for. All right.
Yeah, when boxing unravels itself naturally like that, like organically, that's when it's magic. When the best fight the best at the best time. But when you force it and when you cut weight divisions or you move up and I move down, that's when it's forced. And sometimes it doesn't pan out and fans don't get the absolute best. So yeah, this is natural selection at its best, Chris Mannix.
Yeah, sometimes, Bam has always said he only wants to be in big fights. This sets him up to be in 4 or 5 big fights over the next 2.5 years. All right, speaking of a man that wants to get into some big fights, when we come back, we'll be joined by Richardson Hitchins. All right, Richardson Hitchins joining me here on the show, 140-pound champion, a couple months removed now from his first title defense, a knockout win over George Kambosos, and right in the middle of, I think, one of the most interesting divisions in all of boxing, the 140-pound division. Some good names in that division, some good fights that can be made. And Richardson, let's go back first to the Kambosos fight. I'm sure you've watched that back maybe a few times now. How would you grade that performance? Because I thought that was the best we've seen of you up until this point.
To be honest, if I had to grade it like on a scale 1 to 10, I want to say maybe like a 7.5, a 7.5, 8, because I feel like I could have got George out of there maybe like by the 6th round. The 6th round. I think after the first round, I heard him with the body shot. By the 6th, 7th, by the 6th round, he should have been out of there. I think the 6th round was when I kind of got lazy and let him get some shots through. And instead of just, looking for that sweet spot and going out there and getting him out of there. But at the end of the day, it was a great performance because nobody ever punished George like that from beginning to end and got him out of there, especially with a lot of top guys he fought. It seemed like, George was extremely hungry for this fight. He seemed like he had a lot of motivation. He was coming to a lot of experience, and I just kind of showed him that it was levels. It seemed like, because I think the beauty of it, that he really believed that I wasn't on the level that I was saying I am, and I kind of told him the whole build up that yes, I'm good as Lomachenko, I'm good as Devin Haney, I'm good as Teofimo, and I promised him he was going to see, and he's seen the end results was that he seen that I was who I said I was.
Do you think, have you been getting that a lot? Maybe not after the Kambosos fight, but before it, that people don't believe that you're on that level. I mean, you got your belt, you beat Liam Paro clean. Liam Paro had just beaten Subriel Matias in Puerto Rico. But do you think that before that Kambosos fight, people were skeptical that you were among the best at 140?
Yeah, I actually do believe that people were skeptical. A lot of people, tone change, attitude change. I know everywhere I go now, it's like, yeah, he's the best, or he'll beat this guy, he'll beat that guy. And I was telling the world for a minute that I was one of the best young fighters in the world. I told him that I was on the levels of the Teofimo Lopez's, the Shakur Stevensons, and all the other great fighters. But it took, a great name like George Kambosos to separate myself from just the average type of 140 guy to one of the top elite guys. And I think that was the fight to take my career to the next level. And yeah, so people definitely believe in me now than they did before. But I've been saying to all these guys, I don't even think that I'm better. I mean, I'm on the same level as Teofimo Lopez or Devin Haney. I told George, I think I'm better than these guys. I feel like I'm one of the best fighters in the world, period. And I just feel like every opportunity I'm gonna go out there, keep proving myself, keep dominating these guys, and eventually I'll be the one sitting at the top of the throne. And that's what it's about.
Had to feel good to do it in New York too, right?
It felt good. Teofimo was right ringside. He was right there watching the fight. I was handling the business he couldn't have handled it back in 2021. I'm pretty sure he was like, wow, fuck. he probably was looking, how the fuck did I lose to this guy? you know. But like I told Teofimo, I'm better than him, and it is what it is. Um, any guy that he beat, I will beat 2 times, 3 times worse, and that's just what it is.
So I want to talk to you for this show because you're kind of in the middle of everything at 140. I think 140 is a great division right now. Your manager, Keith Conley, also represents Teofimo Lopez. There's a lot of big deals with a lot of big promoters. Take me inside like the Keith Conley group chat. Do you have a group chat going with Teofimo at this point? Do we have what are the conversations like about your next fight?
Right now we definitely had our eye on Teofimo Lopez. Especially with me and him having the same manager, Keith Conley. Shakur's kind of butted in out of nowhere and try to intrude and he's trying to make the Teofimo fight. But right now, as far as me, first thing out the ring on June 14th was me and Teofimo Lopez is obviously next. Right now there's not a clear direction on where we're gonna go with who's next. But Teofimo Lopez is, God willing, that's the fight we can make happen. I think that's a fantasy fight for me. As far as in my head, it being two New York guys. Hopefully, we can make it happen in Brooklyn, and I think that it will be a big, big event. But my personality and his personality coming together, it will be a great fight. I think that as far as uh, it being realistic, I won't say it's as it's realistic. I would say I guess I would say it's possible. It's definitely possible, but right now it's no clear direction on who's the next guy we're going to be in the ring with.
So what happened with Teofimo over the last few weeks? I remember talking to your manager who was hoping to get you and Teofimo like in a room in New York before that Edgar Berlanga card to discuss that fight. Hopefully make some headway there. It does seem, like you said, it went from being probable to maybe possible at this point. What's happened over the last few weeks?
Last thing I heard about Teofimo, he was going through his own, outside of the business of boxing situations. So I don't think he was able to come to New York to, build the fight up or, make things happen. I know, he had this controversy with, Turkey Al Sheik, and, I heard that he didn't want to really work with Teofimo. Uh, so I don't really know where Teofimo head is at right now. He says that when it comes to me or Shakur, I've heard from the grapevine, it doesn't matter. Put him in the ring. He'll beat either one of us. And obviously, you know how I feel about Teofimo. I've been saying for years before I was champion, I'm better than Teofimo. I've been saying years before I was champion, I was better than Devin Haney. I'm saying years before I was champion, I'm better than all these guys at the top of 140. It really doesn't matter who they put in front of me. It can be a Devin Haney, it can be a Teofimo Lopez, it can be a Sergio Matias. It really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, Richardson Hitchins is the best fighter at 140. And every time I get the opportunity, I will go out there and prove it. Because boxing is fickle. Boxing is so fickle like that. I go out there and beat the guy in Liam Parrow that dominated Sabiro Matias, and people still could say this guy could beat me. I dominate the guy that beat Teofimo Lopez. People still saying Teofimo could beat me. So that's just show you the game is fickle, and all I gotta do is continue to go out there, keep beating these guys, keep being who I am, and eventually I'll be standing at the top of the throne.
Yeah, you mentioned Matias, and I saw a video of you two face to face very recently. He's got that WBC belt after his win last month. I guess he's going to fight on that November card against Dalton Smith. That seems to be the fight that Turkey Al Sheik wants to make. Is that your understanding of how that's going to play out? And do you think that a fight with Matias is now, on the table at some point?
That was my understanding from, how it was supposed to play out. No offers came with Matias' name on the table. Matias kind of, I think he tried to bypass the Dalton Smith fight and try to come straight to me and make a unification match. He stinked me and stinked Tio, so I think he's not trying to do a Dalton Smith fight. But I think he's trying to press down the champions. I actually, when I seen Matias, I went up to him. So people thinking that Matias is coming up to me or pressing me. How can I be scared of a guy that lost to a guy that I beat, easily? And Liam Power is a great fighter. Liam Power is a high level fighter, but Matias is not on my level. And to my understanding, right now he has business to work out with Dalton Smith. I'm also hearing talks of him having to get back in the ring with Puello because his win over Puello was a controversial win. A lot of people believe Puello won a lot, and
Did
some
you
people
think
believe
who did you think won?
watching it, to be honest, I came when I came in the ring, it was already round 5, round 6.
Yeah.
The momentum seemed like it kept shifting. I think from like 8, 9, it looked like Puyo was taking over.
Hmm.
Then I think in the later rounds, I really don't remember how it was going, but I remember like the momentum kind of shifted. It looked like Matias was defeated, and it looked like he still kept going and putting the pressure on. But it do look like a fight that's rematch worthy. I think that it's definitely a fight that they should run it back. Matias he been saying he want to fight Liam Parov again. He want to fight Liam Parov again, but he got the belt, and I think Liam Parov dominated him way easily than he beat Puyo. So um yeah, but like I said, he has a belt, and if the opportunity presents itself and it makes sense, we're jumping right on it. And if not, I'll go up to 147 and fuck up Devin Haney.
You don't want Matias to fight Paro or a rematch. I don't even think a rematch with Puyo is even necessary. I thought Puyo might have edged it, but you know how it goes. Like, if it's that competitive a fight, it doesn't warrant it doesn't need to have a rematch or a mandatory rematch that's out there. I mean, and I saw you talking to Matias, and you kind of confirmed basically everything I thought all along about your history with him, is that you weren't afraid to fight him, but you didn't want to fight him you didn't want to fight him with the rehydration clause intact, because that's a pressure guy, and you want to be at your very best fighting a pressure guy.
Yeah, it wasn't that wasn't was what that wasn't what I was telling him, that I didn't want to fight him. I was kind of telling him that when I did stay in the locker room after the Gustavo Lemos fight, that obviously I became Sabrina Matias mandatory. If the opportunity was represented to me, because at that time I was only 26 years old, if I'm not fighting for a title now, it's now or never. So I mean, obviously you get more opportunities, but 26 is still an age you heading towards your prime. You want to start competing at the highest level. So I would have took the fight, but I told him that I just came out a fight with Gustavo Lemos, of aggressive pressure fighter, and I knew that I was on my best because of the IBF rehydration clause. I lost about 5, 6 pounds the day before the fight itself, and I was like, if I have to do this versus a guy like Matias, it ain't gonna end well. That's just me being smart. So I told him, why would I fight you with the rehydration clause when I can fight you for either another belt or you get a belt and me and you unify? So that's all I really was telling him.
I'll get to Devin Haney in a moment, but the other guy at 140 is Gary Antoine Russell. And you are, as you noted after your last fight, a promotional free agent. You can do a deal with anyone that's out there. Gary Antoine Russell is a new champion, but he's an East Coast guy. I think he won his title in Brooklyn a year or so ago. Has there been any conversations on that side about a fight like that happening?
Nah, nothing. I didn't hear really much about Gary Russell. I know the Gary Russell. I know he was presented with a challenge, I think, to fight the young undefeated Japanese guys.
Mm.
It don't look like he's trying to go that route neither. It look like he wants to unify with the champions like me or Teofimo or I don't really hear him saying I think he really was just want me and Teofimo me and Teofimo fight. I didn't really hear too much about him and Matias. I don't think, but I know that he's kind of was saying my name, Teofimo name, and I know he was in talks of him having to defend his title versus the Japanese guy. But yeah, these are all great fights for me. I would love to get in the ring with Gary Russell. I think that I'll beat Gary Russell convincingly. I think that the fighter that he was competing with in the amateurs and the fighter that I am now as being a professional and a world champion, I think that it will definitely be a great fight. But I just feel like I'm one of the best fighters in the world, and I'm not faking it. I'm not bluffing it. This is it. Gary seen me come up from a kid. He was actually more experienced than me when we were fighting in the amateurs. I probably was boxing for maybe 4 or 5 years. But Gary already probably had 12, 13 years in the sport of boxing, let alone. So I had to kind of catch up, grind, get the experience. So I think now I'm fully experienced in boxing. There's not much I haven't seen, and yeah, whenever the fight presents itself, we'll make all these fights happen. So I'm just sitting back and I'm waiting for my manager to come to me with the best possible offers.
When you fight a guy in the amateurs and he's got a little bit of experience on you, like you said, a bit of an edge on you that way, does it make you want a pro fight against him more, or does it not matter to you?
To be honest, the loss versus Gary wasn't. I didn't take it to like, oh, I gotta beat this guy, I gotta avenge this guy, because looking back at it, it was like I was behind the 8 ball. The boxing for 5 years. The guy had a brother that was already an Olympian, a world champion. So Gary could fight me today. His brother will watch. I mean, yeah, Gary could fight me today. His brother will watch. Gary could be fighting me tomorrow. His brother be watching me at ring 3, and he'll be like, "This is how we're gonna fight him tomorrow." So he had a brother to help him make adjustments, plus with his talent. So I think that I was behind the 8 ball. I was kind of a guy that was just really just hungry and was talented. I didn't really know what I was doing, and I just had to keep striving. So I think that it wasn't nothing personal to me, but like I said, he can't beat me, and that's just what it is. You know, he barely could even beat me back then. So I think now it would be a challenge, but it wouldn't be nothing that I can't it wouldn't be nothing that I can't get done.
Is it fair to say that if you don't get a unification fight, that you'll move up to 147 pounds?
Yeah, for sure. You know, I'll go up to 147. I would target straight at Devin Haney. You know, why? It makes sense. He's a guy that me and him have history. He's not a big puncher, and he's a guy that's fresh from 140. So it's not like too much of an adjustment I'll have to make from 140. And I think that it will solidify my name even more in boxing. Getting a big win like that, I believe that I'll beat him also. And I think that it will make sense. So if the Teofimo, if I kind of knew what was going on with Teofimo before early on, I would have kind of pushed my manager to let's make the Devin Haney fight right away at 147 or a catch weight, or let's try to get Devin Haney down at 140. However, we could have made it happen. But you know, obviously I'm grown out of the 140 division. I've been at 140 for a while. These guys that was at 135 is now even passing the 140 division. They're going at 147. So it's about to be time for me to go up. So it's all about me making the best that I can make out of this belt, either unifying it, making a big fight with it, or just using my name and my performances to go up there to 147 and grab the big fights, whether it's the Devin Haney's, the Brian Normans, the Mario Barrios's. Those are the fights that I would want to fight.
So what is the history with you and Devin Haney? Because you do not like Devin Haney. That much I know from calling your fights over the last few years. Where does the kind of beef begin?
You know, Devin Haney's a sucker, man. He's a sucker because he can't beat me in boxing. So every time he does something, he tries to take it outside of boxing. Every time we going back and forth, it's never about boxing. It's like about a girl or about this, about that. He try to throw little subliminals all around, you know, all around boxing. Like it just have nothing to do with boxing. Me, my problem, my beef was it was never no beef. I just said I'm plain and simple. I'm better than you. I'm the better fighter. I'm the better boxer. Everything you do, I'll do better. If I wasn't a boxer, I'll be a Devin Haney supporter, Devin Haney fan, because I think he is a good boxer. But I'm in the sport, and I'm one of the best talents that I feel like I've that's in the sport right now. So I just feel like he's not better than me. But like I said, me and Devin Haney, we grew up together. We got history together. He's somebody that I don't want to see lose. I don't want to see him lose. I don't want to see anything. I don't wish bad on his career. But when it comes to me, he can't fuck with me. That's just what it is. So Devin know what it is. Devin been in the gym with me, been in the ring with me numerous times. We shared the ring numerous times. We boxed numerous times. So he know when I'm talking this shit. He know I'm ready to back it up. There's a reason why he put in that ticket when I fought Liam Parrell when the odds was against me. There's a reason why he made him some money because he know what type of talent I am, and he been in the ring with me and Liam.
Is there something? I mean, Devin seems to rub a lot of people the wrong way, and maybe some of that's just natural rivalry stuff. But is there something more to it? Is it the way his father kind of goes about his business? Is it kind of the way Devin came up? Like, what is it about Devin that seems to bother some people?
Some people I really don't know. I think that they did it the best way. They took the best fights. They took the best fights. They guided him the best way. You know, got him the experience in the boxing gym. Took him all over America, boxing the top talent in America. And I think that they guided him the best way to be the name he is. I feel like he did it the best. You know, as far as like, you know, a black fighter getting to the top. You know, with smart wrist and just and making sure that his legacy is intact. You know, you can't say that he haven't achieved nothing. You know, I mean, he beat a guy like Cambosis to become very successful. I beat a guy like Cambosis just to get to the next step, kind of. So, you know, you can't be mad at somebody making the right chess moves on the chessboard. And anybody that got anything really bad to say about him outside of boxing is really just a hater. Him as a boxer, he's a good fighter, but obviously he's not what the world try to make him out to be.
Do you think he beats Brian Norman in November?
You I like Brian Norman. I like Brian Norman. I think he's a cool guy. I've actually boxed Brian Norman, and to me, I don't want to, I don't want to I don't want to say the wrong thing, but if I had to go with my boxing knowledge, I believe Devin Haney gets it done.
You think his boxing skills will be a little bit better than the skills and the power of Brian?
I think Brian Norman do have boxing skills, but I don't think he's better than Devin Haney. That's boxing. I think athletically, he's probably more stronger, have more of a man strength, more, obviously the physical better fighter. But as far as like boxing skills, if Devin Haney could take the shots when it's landed, I think that Devin Haney should be able to win the fight.
All right, last thing for you. You are a promotional free agent. I'm sure there are promoters that want to work with you again. You're a title holder. You're starting to show you can be a draw in New York City. Great win over Kambosos. What do you want to do? Do you want to kind of stay a free agent and bounce back and forth? Do you want to sign with another promoter, whether it's back with Matchroom or somebody else? What do you want, the next 6 to 12 months of your career to look like?
Obviously I love Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn, he helped me get to where I'm at, to get me help me get the opportunities, help me get to the belt, to get my career to the point where I could get the biggest paydays that I can possibly get. And I don't even thank him for that. I would love to, always work with Eddie Hearn. We and him always had a great relationship, even though, things kind of turned sour with my comment and he didn't really like that. But as far as right now, I'm just waiting for my manager, Keith Conley, to come to me with all the offers that he has at once. Definitely, obviously Eddie has, first dibs. So we're just waiting from an offer from Eddie right now. We haven't I haven't got anything to me personally. Me and Keith been going back and forth. Obviously it's definitely offers out there on the table, but we want to definitely continue a relationship with Eddie. So we're gonna wait for Eddie, see what he presents, see if he has something, in place for us that makes sense for both me, Eddie, and obviously Keith, and we go from there.
How sure are you that you'll fight again in 2025?
Right now it's looking from a scale 1 to 10, it's looking like an 8.5, 8.5, 8.7. So I'll definitely be back in the ring, some maybe November, December. Like I said, we have offers. So right now, all we're doing right now is just waiting for all the offers to come at once. And obviously, like I said, Eddie has first dibs because he's the guy that got me to this point. So I would love to continue working with him, and we'll see what all the other offers that Keith have been working on when he presented to me. Obviously, I'm gonna see what's best for me, and Keith is gonna advise me to see what's best for me, and we'll go from there.
Well, it's great to hear, man. It's great. It was a great performance back in June against George Kambosos. Great to see you as a champion with a lot of options out there at 140 or 147. Hope the next one is a big one, Richardson, because you've been looking pretty good as of late, and looking forward to see whatever comes next, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So hopefully I'll be seeing you before the end of the year in a mega fight.
I like it, man. Good to talk to you, man. Appreciate your time. All right, Sergio, time now for a new segment on the show, and that is the Notebook Dump, where I reveal all the things that I'm hearing over the last few days in the boxing world. And the first subject I want to get your take on is this Rolly Romero-Ryan Garcia rematch talk. Now, you were in Chicago a week or so ago, or about a week ago, when Oscar De La Hoya put some cold water on the idea of a Ryan Rolly rematch, said he had no interest, the fans weren't interested. But from what I'm hearing, Sergio, there have been substantive negotiations to make the rematch between Ryan and Rolly, with the expectation that December or January is when that fight could take place. So if these two get together, Sergio, who would you favor in the rematch?
Ryan Garcia in a sloppy fight, in a fight that he's not going to dominate, because I think Rolly Romero just stylistically is not good for his style. But yeah, Ryan Garcia has to get his get back. And at first when you initially asked me this question, I said, no. Ryan Garcia is the A side of this. Even though he lost that fight, even though he's not the champion, Romero is a WBA champ now. Ryan Garcia could still go to anywhere he wants and get another name, a bigger fight, or a stay busy fight. It's still going to be marketable and profitable. So that's what I initially said. But the fact that we can't rely on Ryan Garcia to be disciplined all this time, to be injury free, to stay out of trouble, out of the limelight, out of social media, out of all this, you can't. So you just got to get him while he's there. He wants to fight. He has a date. Get Ryan Garcia in the ring, all right? Or else you're not going to get him. So I'm glad that this fight is going to happen and get it out of the way. Because Ryan Garcia, if he loses back-to-back fights with Rolly Romero, he's finished. Fans will give up on him as far as a boxer. Mind you, this guy's not a champion. He's never won a world championship, and probably, like I've been saying for years, probably will be the most successful fighter that will never win a world championship because of all the vices and things that go outside the ring.
Yeah, but if he beats Rolly Romero, if he beats Rolly, then he's a world champion. Technically, Rolly is the 147-pound champion. So if he beats Rolly, Ryan Garcia is a champ.
Title holder, all right? Title holder.
Wow, whatever. Now you're splitting hairs here. You can't,
splitting hairs. Who did Rolly Romero, what champion did he beat?
I don't disagree with you there, but how do you differentiate?
He got upgraded. He got promoted. He got given a damn belt. That's not a champion. Come on now.
I don't disagree with you. I'm with Rolly's status, but I'm just saying a belt is a belt. And if Ryan Garcia beats Rolly Romero, he will officially be a 147-pound champion. I like the idea of this fight a lot. I hope they get it over the finish line. I think it's the right fight for Ryan Garcia. And even though I know a lot of people in boxing disagree with me, I think that Ryan is going to be a lot better under traditional boxing circumstances. That means a crowd. Like all the fights we've seen Ryan Garcia in, even the one during the pandemic in Texas where it was half filled because of, COVID requirements. There was an energetic crowd there for Ryan Garcia. California, energetic crowds. In New York, where he fought Rolly, there was no crowd whatsoever. And I think that has an adverse impact on a fighter that feeds off the energy of the crowd like a Ryan Garcia. I think you're going to see a much better version of Ryan. Maybe it's not the uber aggressive type that you saw against Devin Haney over a year ago, but I think you're going to see a better version, and I would favor Ryan Garcia in that fight. Another fight that could be in the making is a showdown in Puerto Rico between Edgar Berlanga and our friend Gabe Rosado. Gabe Rosado, Sergio, ended a 2+ year layoff this past weekend. He beat Crispulo Andino. Don't really know who that is, but he beat him by first round knockout in Long Beach, California. That ended the 2.5 year layoff, ended the 4-fight losing streak. Afterwards, Gabe, who has been calling for a Berlanga fight for some time, reiterated that he wants to fight Edgar in their home country of Puerto Rico, their home territory of Puerto Rico. I've been told, Sergio, that Berlanga's team is open to that idea, that they're into the idea of a Gabe Rosado fight in Puerto Rico. How do you feel about Berlanga Rosado in Puerto Rico?
If I was Berlanga, I would be salivating at that opportunity. And if I was Rosado, I'll be thrilled that I'm still getting that opportunity. Gabe Rosado has 17 losses. Of course, he's going to jump at the opportunity to fight for another payday. Good for him that he stayed relevant enough and he still, selected the right opponent to get him right back in the mix. That's the thing about having a name. That's the thing about being a respectable gatekeeper like Gabe Rosado. And Berlanga, why are we talking about Berlanga? He just got knocked out he lost his 2 biggest fights. He has a big mouth and a big punch, or used to have a big punch. But why are we talking about him and not Hamza Shiraz, Mr. Senior Editor, Sports Illustrated?
Because I don't have information about Hamza. Hamza Shiraz is out there waiting for Canelo Alvarez. Hamza Shiraz, to my knowledge, is not plotting his next fight. We know Edgar Berlanga is thinking about getting back in the ring either end of this year or the first quarter of next year. And if you're looking for a quote-unquote soft touch, you've got Gabe Rosado, who is 39 years old, who has been inactive, and when he was active, he was losing fights.
He was retired.
So he was retired like you're retired though. Like he was looking for another fight, even when there wasn't one out there for him. So, I don't mind.
It's taking up boxing space, Mannix. I hate to be that guy. I hate to be rude, but my fans love me because I keep it real. They're taking up a slot. Whether it's going to be on DAZN or any other network, they're taking up a slot. Berlanga needs to go somewhere on an undercard and earn his spot right back.
Maybe that's an undercard. Maybe that's an undercard fight. I don't know if that's a pay-per-view.
Then that's a different story.
I'm not saying it's a headliner. Yeah.
Well, that's a different story. Then it should be a headliner on our show then. All right?
I'm fine with that. The crazy part is that I think if and when Berlanga comes back, he might actually be looking for somebody easier than Gabe Rosado. Gabe and I'm not knocking Gabe at all. Like Gabe, is the best 17-loss fighter in boxing history. And he has had some really competitive fights against some really good fighters. But I think, whenever Berlanga decides to come back, I'm just going to guess, me guessing now more than reporting, but I'm just going to guess it's an opponent that's more like Jonathan Gonzalez-Ortiz, and we saw him knock out in the first round, the fight before last, than someone like Gabe Rosado. I think Gabe's a perfectly credible comeback opponent for an Edgar Berlanga. Maybe it's not a main event, maybe it's on an undercard, but I'd be fine with that fight taking place now that Gabe is back in the ring and showing some knockout power at 175, Sergio, fighting whoever that guy was in Long Beach. All right, I free you, Sergio. I know you're anxious to get out there and get back to whatever it is you do on a Thursday afternoon, so have at it and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much. I'm about to go take care of some kids, and now the real work begins.